أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. We were discussing verse number 253 تلك الرسل فضلنا بعضهم على بعض. I discussed the fact that this fadila, or this grace that Allah gives them, and merits that gives an advantage, gives some of them over others, is not something they earn. It is something that Allah gives them by His grace. And the reason is that there is a wisdom behind it. It's not here, we should not talk about justice, that why Allah gives to some and not to others, because here is not the question of justice, it's the question of maslaha and hikmah and wisdom. And Allah, for guiding people, gives some others, a few number of them, some grace, so that by that grace they could guide others. That, of course, would not take away their free will, would not take away their responsibility. Actually, it makes their responsibility even harder. About this fadila, فَضَّلْنَا بَعْضَهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ, apart from the grace that Allah gives them, some commentators have made other comments here, have provided other views. One view as to why this fazila has been mentioned here, why Allah mentions that some of them we have given advantage over others, is that people should not think that because they are prophets, they all have to be the same. In the case of A'imma alayhi salam, the same thing. Because they are imams, they should all be the same. This is not the case. There were imams, either our imams or imams before Islam, who had advantage over other imams as well. The same thing. He says that here, the commentator says that this is mentioned so that people do not think that the Anbiya, because they have such a high position, they all have the same station and same status. The other view is that why Allah has mentioned this here, فَضَّلْنَا بَعْضَهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ, some of them we have given advantage over others, is because now the discussion is about Prophet Muhammad, peace be on him, with the Jews. The whole story of Surah Baqarah is a sort of argument and discussion with the Jewish people in Medina, and therefore Allah wants to say that this Prophet Muhammad, has been given advantage over other prophets. And some have said that why this advantage is there, because some of them face more hardship, some of them bring Sharia, some don't bring Sharia. But these are not very noticeable views. The main thing here is that Allah wants to say that the Anbiya are not equal, the fadilah is given to them, as the examples are mentioned here. That's وَرَفَعَ وَآتَيْنَا عيسى ابن مريم البينات منهم من كلم الله ورفع بعضهم درجات وآتينا عيسى ابن مريم البينات. These are actually examples of this fadila. Now, here the commentators have tried to say that this فَضَّلْنَا بَعْضَهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ, as I mentioned, is mainly about Prophet Muhammad. Allah has given fadila over him. Fakhruddin al-Razi, in his Tafsir Mafatihul Ghaib, mentions 19 points why this is about Prophet Muhammad, and it means Prophet Muhammad has advantage over all other prophets. And he mentions many narrations as well, but none of his arguments are correct. As Allama Tabatabai says, this is a very general statement. Some of the messengers have advantage over others, some have been given more merit, and some has specific features which no other prophet has, like what he says here in the verse. It says it here in the verse, minhum man kallama Allah. Some of them Allah spoke to them. Now, Allah speaks to people in different ways. Of course, Allah speaks to all the prophets, but by different means. Here it means directly. Minhum man kallam Allah. Allah directly spoke to some of them. Generally, the type of revelation coming to prophets are by three ways. One is direct revelation to the heart of the prophet. The other is direct speech of God, not to the heart, coming to the ear of the messenger. And the third is by sending a messenger like Jibreel to bring the revelation. And this is mentioned, of course, in Surah Shura, وَمَا كَانَ لِبَشَرٍ أَن يُكَلِّمُهُ اللَّهُ إِلَّا وَحْيًا أَوْ مِنْ وَرَاءِ حِجَابٍ أَوْ يُرْسِلَ رَسُولًا فَيُوحِيَ بِإِذْنِهِ مَا يَشَاءُ. Now, the common way of revelation is by sending an angel, and mainly Jibreel, which is the chosen angel among all other angels to bring the message of Allah. He is the chief of all angels, and that's why Allah, to honor his messengers and to honor human beings, sends the head of all angels to bring his message to human being. This is the common way of it, and this is the easiest. And this is easier for the prophets as well. As our prophet said, it's very easy for me when Jibreel comes and brings wahy for me. The other way was when Allah directly inspired in the heart, when Allah directly sent direction to the heart of the prophet. And this is what has happened to our prophet as well. In many occasions, this direct revelation came without mediation of Jibreel, but it was very difficult for the prophet. It was very exacting in his body, and sometimes he fainted after receiving such revelation. And therefore, most of the time, it was Jibreel. But of course, this was a very honorable type of connection with God. The taklim, or speech, we know that it has happened on two occasions. One is when the Prophet went to Mi'raj, Allah spoke to him by voice, not directed to the heart. And Musa alayhi salam, Allah spoke to him by voice. Not that Allah has a voice, Allah created a voice, which we call his voice, his speech. And Allah talked to him, to Musa alayhi salam. And this is something which Musa, among other prophets, have been specifically chosen for and had the capacity to receive this type of revelation. And our prophet in Mi'raj received the same revelation. So here's minhum man kallam Allah. We have given this feature to some of them, to speech. وَرَفَعَ بَعْضَهُمْ دَرَجَاتٍ. And some of them Allah has elevated in their darajat. Again, many commentators have said that this is about the Prophet. رَفَعَ بَعْضَهُمْ دَرَجَاتٍ is actually mentioning that Prophet Muhammad has been given advantage over all other prophets, but this is general. Some of the prophets have advantage over others. وَآتَيْنَا إِيسَى ابْنَ مَرْيَمَ الْبَيِّنَاتِ. And we gave Isa ibn Maryam the ayat, clear ayat. Bayyinat are clear ayat, clear miracles, like for example reviving the dead, curing the lepers. These were the bayyinat that Allah gave to Isa ibn Maryam, and he did not give to any other prophet as a mu'jiza, as a miracle. وَأَيَّدْنَاهُ بِرُوحِ الْقُدُسِ. And we supported him, strengthened him by Ruh al-Qudus. Everyone has said Ruh al-Qudus is Jibreel. And this is what of course, the Christians call the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit, Ruh al-Qudus, is another name for Jibreel. Jibreel is given different names in the Quran. One is Ruh al-Amin, the trusted spirit. Why he is called Ruh? Because every intelligent living being partakes from Ruh of Allah, which gives life. And therefore angels can be called Ruh. Those creatures above the angels, which we don't have any specific name for them, are called Ruh. The soul which is in our body can be called Ruh as well. And also that that sort of creature by way of which the knowledge of Allah is instilled in the heart of the people is called ruh as well. So ruh is a general term used for many different creatures, or many different creatures which partake of something of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, something Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has inspired in them. And therefore Jibreel is called Ruhul Amin. And also Isa alayhi salam is called Ruh. Wa Ruhum Min. Isa is a Ruh from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because he was mainly a spiritual, angelic sort of human being. He's called Ruh as well. And Ruhul Qudus, which is mentioned as another name for Jibreel, Holy Spirit, is because, of course, all angels are holy. However, here it means that when Jibreel connects to someone, is attached to someone, and accompanies someone in his life, then that person becomes very holy. That person becomes angelic. It's not Qudus, maybe, it's not an attribute for Ruh, for Jibreel, is an attribute for the person who receives this company and this support from Jibreel, and that's why it's called Ruhul Qudus. Ayyadnahu bi Ruhul Qudus. Our Prophet as well has the same quality. He is also supported by Ruhul Qudus. Many prophets are, but Isa alayhi salam may probably throughout his life he was accompanied by this Ruhul Qudus, and he was able to do all those things, and that's why Allah says وَأَيَّدْنَاهُ بِرُوحِ الْقُدُسِ. Now, then something very, very important is mentioned in a long sentence, very important, about why religious people fight amongst each other. Religion has come to remove differences. Religion has come to remove violence. Religion has come to remove peace, to bring peace and to bring justice. However, we see that there has been contention, there has been quarrels, there has been wars among the followers of religions, not among the followers of different religions, among the followers of the same religion. There has been always fights and battles. And then one may ask, what is the purpose of revelation? What's the purpose of giving religion to people when it creates wars, creates battles, creates all these things, animosities? You can see this in every religion. I mean, in Christianity, right from the beginning, we had this infighting among the followers of Isa alayhi salam. Then we have seen in recent centuries how they killed each other as Protestants and Catholics and things like that. In Islam, we have seen how in Sunni, Shia, and others have started battles, how Imam Hussein was killed by other Muslims. Right from the beginning, this battle was ongoing. So the question is, what's the purpose of religion? Why this happens? Why wars after religions? Now here, Allah is mentioning something very important. وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ مَا اقْتَتَلَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ بَعْدِهِمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَتْهُمُ الْبَيِّنَاتُ. Had Allah wished, of course this is mentioned after the merits of the prophets given all those advantages to guide human being, but this guidance led to fighting and bloodshed. وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ مَا اقْتَتَلَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ بَعْدِهِمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَتْهُمُ الْبَيِّنَاتُ. Had Allah wished, those who succeeded them would not have fought each other after the manifest proof had come to them. وَلَكِنْ اخْتَلَفُوا. But they differed. So there were among them those who had faith, and there were among them those who were faithless. And had Allah wished, they would not have fought one another. But Allah does whatever He desires. وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ مَا اقْتَتَلُوا وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَفْعَلُ مَا يُرِيدُ. Allah does whatever He wills. Now here, Allah does whatever He wills means that I cannot explain the wisdom behind this. Why I allow this. Why this happens. Allah does whatever He wills based on His hikmah. And you cannot understand the wisdom and hikmah behind this. But you should know that we are aware of that. We know that people after every prophet fight each other. We know that they do this, but there is a hikmah. that you may not be aware of that. The overall summary of this is that Allah had given them the bayinat. وَلَكِنْ اخْتَلَفُوا مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَتْهُمُ الْبَيِّنَاتُ. After clear communication, clear indications came to them, they started to argue about it. They started to differ each other. It says that, the verse says that it was not the case of ignorance. It was not the case of not knowing what is truth, what is not truth. It was the case of ikhtilaf based on selfish matters. Because Allah had not confused them. Allah had given them clear indications, clear signs, what is right, what is wrong. We know, for example, after Jesus, there was this very, very big conflict up between Peter and Paul, between Shamun al-Safa, who's called Peter in English, and between Paulus or Paul, which eventually Paul succeeded to bring Trinity into Christianity, and Peter was defeated, who was the wasi of Isa alayhi salam. And we know that in Islam there were these battles. I mean, the very, very clear battles were Battle of Jamal, at the time of Imam Ali alayhi salam, Battle of Siffin. Of course, at the time of the first two caliphs, we didn't have these battles. We didn't have these sort of problems very critically until Imam Ali came to power. When he came to power, then these battles started, and we know this fighting was fierce. Tens of thousands were killed in these battles. Now, were not Allah aware of this, that this was happening? Was it because people were ignorant about it? No, Allah says we had sent clear signs. وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ مَقْتَتَلَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ بَعْدِهِمْ. If Allah wished, they wouldn't have fought. وَلَكِنْ اخْتَلَفُوا. But they disagreed. فَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ آمَنَ وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ كَفَرَ. Some of them believed, some of them disbelieved. Now, disbelief here doesn't mean that they went out of the faith. It means that they disbelieved in those ayatun bayyinat. They did not believe in it. They rejected it. Now, what's the point of saying, وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ مَقْتَتَلَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ بَعْدِهِمْ? Had Allah wished, they wouldn't have fought. It means that Allah didn't want to force them to follow. This is the will of Allah. Here, Shaykh Tusi has a very, very beautiful explanation for this. وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ مَقْتَتَلَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ بَعْدِهِمْ. Had Allah wished, they wouldn't have fought. He says that this is إخبار عن قدرته على إلجائهم على الامتناع من الاقتدار. He says that Allah had the power to stop them. Allah had the power to force them to follow the guidance. أو بأن يمنعهم من that, or not let them to fight each other. However, He didn't want to do it by force. He didn't want to do it by extraordinary means. He wanted to give them the freedom of choice. And that freedom of choice is the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, given to everyone before the Prophet, during the time of the Prophet, after the time of the Prophet. And he says, this is like the verse, وَلَوْ شِئْنَا لَآتَيْنَا كُلَّ نَفْسٍ هُدَاهَا. If we wished, we would have given everyone the guidance that they needed to be guided by force. But we don't wish that. وَلَوْ شَاءَ رَبُّكَ لَآمَنَ مَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ كُلُّهُمْ جَمِيعًا. Had Allah wished, everyone would have believed. But He doesn't wish that. It is the wisdom that things should go according to the free will of people. Now, one may say, وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ مَقْتَتَلُوا. Had Allah wished, they wouldn't have fought. Does it mean that Allah really wished that they fought? Allah wanted that? No, Allah didn't want that. It means that لَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ لَإِمْتِنَاءَهُمْ بِالْإِلْجَاءِ. If Allah wished to force them not to fight, He would have done it. But Allah never wished that, never wished to force them. So this is something which has happened after every prophet. It's a tester. After every prophet, when a prophet comes, of course, by the overwhelming power of miracles and power of guidance that Allah gives the prophet, everyone believes. say we believe. Okay, when of course the prophet prevails and succeeds. There are many prophets who did not succeed at all, and they were killed. And their people were destroyed. But for those prophets who succeeded, like Musa alayhi salam, everyone came and said, we believe. But they were tested by the calf. That's many of them believed in the calf and started to worship that calf. This was a tester. In Islam as well, there were testers. There were these ibtila'at and these tests which came to prove what Allah has mentioned at the beginning of Surah Al-Ankabut. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alif Lam Mim. أَحَسِبَ النَّاسِ أَن يُتْرَكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ. Do people think that they just say we believe and they are not going to be tested? So their faith will be put on test. Now you may say, what happens to the faith then? Allah sends a prophet, then sends this test, then many people fail, many people would become kafir in that sense. So what happens to the faith? No, the faith wouldn't go away. This quarrel will be ongoing, bringing tests all the time to people, but the faith would remain if Allah wishes that. So here there are some narrations as well from Imam Ali alayhi salam and from other A'imma alayhimus salam about what happened after our prophet. So he says, وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ مَقْتَتَلَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ بَعْدِهِمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَتْهُمُ الْبَيِّنَاتِ. After bayinat, clear signs and indications came to them, after the prophets, they wouldn't have fought. وَلَكِنْ اخْتَلَفُوا. But the followers of the prophet had this disagreement and contention. فَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ آمَنْ وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ كَفَرَ. Some of them believed in those clear indications, some of them disbelieved or rejected those clear indications. Kufr is mainly rejection. Rejected those clear indications. But they still remained in the faith. Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam mentions that في هذا ما يستدل به على أن أصحاب محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم قد اختلفوا من بعده. This is a clear indication that Ashab Muhammad, peace be on him, disagreed over those clear signs after him. فَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ آمَنَ وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ كَفَرَ. Some of them believed, some of them rejected. Now, I'll mention what this kufr mean. This kufr doesn't mean that they go out of Islam, as Imam Ali did not treat them like that. وفي رواية قال فلما وقع الاختلاف, when this اختلاف happened, ما اختلف الذين من بعدهم نحن أولى بالله عز وجل. كنا نحن أولى, we were on the side of Allah عز وجل. وبالكتاب وبالحق فنحن الذين آمنوا, we are the ones who believed. وهم الذين كفروا, they are the ones who rejected. And there's a hadith. This hadith is reported in many books. Shaykh Mufid has reported this. Shaykh Tusi has reported this. Qummi has reported this hadith in his Tafsir. Ayyashi has reported this. Which su'ala an Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam. After the battle of Jamal was a sort of faith shaking. People shook in their faith. This is Talha, this is Zubair, this is Aisha, Ummul Mu'mineen on one side, and this is Ali ibn Abi Talib and all those close companions of the Prophet on the other side. What is happening? I mean, imagine if this happened in our time. What would have happened to us? Our faith would have shaken, really would have shaken. So at that time as well, this was not the case much at the time of Safin with Muawiyah, because Muawiyah was one of the Tulaqa. Muawiyah was one of those people who had believed by force, one of those people who had fought against Islam all his life. Safin was not like that. But Nahrawan with Khawarij, and especially Jamal, was one of those very difficult times of Islam at the time of Imam Ali alayhi salam, because both sides had very, very holy people among them. Very close, and on one side we had wife of the Prophet. On the other side, we have cousin of the Prophet and wasi of the Prophet. So, سئل عن أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام يوم الجمل. On the day of Jamal, Imam Ali was asked, what is this? كبر القوم وكبرنا. They say Allahu Akbar. We say Allahu Akbar. وحلل القوم وحللنا. They say لا إله إلا الله. We say لا إله إلا الله. وصلى القوم وصلينا. Do not underestimate Talha and Zubair. These are the ones who were with the Prophet right from the beginning. And we cannot say that these were just disbelievers or weak in their faith, things like this. So it was very, very difficult for people to understand and accept it. So وصلى القوم وصلينا. They pray, we pray. فعلى ما نقاتلهم. Why we fight them? What is the question? What is the problem here? فتلا هذه الآية. He said ولو شاء الله ما اقتتل الذين من بعدهم من بعد ما جاءتهم البينات. Had Allah wished, they wouldn't have fought. But Allah didn't want that. He wanted people to show themselves. He wanted people to reveal what's inside them, to expose. ثم قال نحن الذين من بعدهم. Aren't we those who are after the prophets? ولو شاء الله ما اقتتل. It means after every prophet, people fought. So we are after the prophets and we are fighting, of course. وقال فنحن الذين آمنا وهم الذين كفروا. We are the ones who believe, they are the ones who reject. Now, Allama Tabatabai says that because this hadith is reported in many, many books, it is a very credible hadith. However, we know that Imam Ali alayhi salam did not treat the people in Jamal after they were defeated as kuffar. He treated them as Muslimun. He even did not treat them as bughat, people who fight against the authority. He did not treat them as Ahlul Radda. He did not treat them as Ahlul Kitab. He treated them as Muslimun. So why did he say, Humul ladhina kafaru? These are the ones who reject and are kafir. He says that here kufr means the ones who reject those bayinat but remain Muslims. They are Muslim, but they reject those bayinat. This is what has happened after our Prophet. The ayah was, of course, revealed while the Prophet was alive. But it's very interesting that exactly what the ayah says happened after the Prophet. It happened after previous prophets. It happened after our Prophet, that people fought. Now we may say, no, there were not any disagreement. Ashab Rasulullah were all complying with the guidance and they were all good people. Okay, we can say for a while, but we cannot deny this is history. We cannot deny Jamal, we cannot deny Nahrawan, we cannot deny Siffin. These were the battles which happened among the companions of the Prophet, peace be on him. And especially, as I said, in Jamal, on both sides, they were very credible companions of the Prophet. And the ayah is, in a sense, telling us why these things happen. This is because people have to show their reveal their inner faith after the Prophet is gone. And after those indications are mentioned, but of course disregarded or respected by some others. There is another hadith that is in a very similar vein. Imam Ali was asked, on what authority you are fighting these people? You are fighting Aisha. On what authority you are fighting Talha? You are fighting Zubair. He said, on the authority of this ayah, I'm fighting them. وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ مَا اقْتَتَلَ الَّذِينَ مِن بَعْدِهِمْ مِن بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَتْهُمُ الْبَيِّنَاتُ. I'm doing it on that authority. Okay, verse 254, inshallah, we leave it for next week. وَصَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ وَآلِهِ الطَّاهِرِينَ.
Thank you very much, Shaykh. Do we have any questions?
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. Thank you very much for your lecture. Shaykh, in sort of a clarification on this definition of kufr as being those who reject rather than those who are out of the religion. is this specific only to their rejection of the ascendancy of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, or does this apply to other circumstances as well? Because we're just about to come to Ayatul Kursi, where we talk about there's no compulsion in religion, but we're told that once you accept religion, then you have to accept all the tenets of religion. It's not a choice. The choice is whether you come to faith or not. So this explanation that you've given today seems to perhaps be at odds with that understanding we may have.
In what sense is in odds with that?
In the sense that if you rejecting, after coming to faith, if you reject the tenets and the amr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you are outside that religion. Or if I understood that incorrectly.
No, here we said Imam Ali did not regard them to be outside the religion. They regarded them as Muslims and treated them as Muslims. But in a hadith from Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, he mentions that kufr has many different meanings. One of them is when you, for example, refuse a tenet of faith. You are kafir in that sense, but you do not go out of faith. Like, for example, about Hajj, Allah says, وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ سَبِيلًا وَمَنْ كَفَرَ. Man kafara means anyone who doesn't perform it. So here, kufr means someone who violates. And in many narrations, we have that Tariq salat is kafir. Anyone who doesn't pray is a kafir. Now, we know that from the point of view of theology, we do not regard them as kafir. We regard them as fasiq. But it's kafir in the sense that they are rejecting one tenet of faith. So I don't think there is any conflict between this and Ayatul Kursi. And in Ayatul Kursi, kufr could be pointing to all levels of kufr. And that's in the sense that if someone completely submit to Allah, Allah completely guides them. If someone partially submit to Allah, Allah partially guides them. So, Allahu waliyyu alladhina amanu yukhrijuhum min al-dhulumati ila-nur walladhina kafaru. This kafaru may mean all these degrees of kufr, which are rejection, going out of faith completely, not accepting one tenet of faith. These are the ones.
So, Sheikh, just as an extension of that, if this is a scale on which people perhaps are rejecting at different levels, at what stage does that individual become outside the religion, or is that not a decision for man, it's just a decision for God?
No, they say that if someone clearly rejects one of the necessities of faith, for example, someone not praying is not a kafir, is a fast. But someone saying that prayer is not part of Islam, I do not accept it, or part of Islam but I do not accept it, then that would go out of faith. So rejecting is different from not practicing. Not practicing wouldn't make a person kafir, but rejection of what is a necessary tenet of faith would make a person kafir.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
Thank you very much, Sheikh. It's just at the end you just mentioned that this was kind of happened after the Prophet. The same thing happened, that there was ikhtilaf among a set of believers who had been with the Prophet, the Battle of Jamal. And at that point, this is just a thought that came into my mind. Is that any possibility that might happen, or is there a possibility that might happen with the appearance of the 12th Imam? It's just something that I just want to leave it with you.
Inshallah, we wait and see.
You don't want to go there, right?
No, we don't know. I mean, these are just speculations. We cannot say anything about it.
No, because the reason I say that, and maybe this, what I've heard might not be narrations, but I've heard long time ago from the pulpit that when the Imam comes, some of the Shia of the Imam will fight against him.
This is during or just before the Imam establishes. We are talking about after the Prophet. So after the Imam, what will happen? We don't know. apparently Imam Mahdi has a difference with all other Imams and Prophets, and that is Allah supports him in the way that he would prevail over everyone. But while in the case of other prophets, this was not the case. But we don't know. Yes, before he establishes, during his time, there may be all these fightings, but we don't know anything about what happens after him.
So, sorry, just for clarification, you're saying that there's two phases after the actual Imam, appearance of the Imam. When he arrives and then when he's established. And then once he's established, then there will be no ikhtilaf before the Day of Judgment. Is that how we understand it?
Probably, yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Riyazan? So for us?
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. Shaykh, sometimes when you're talking about a veracity of a hadith, if 10 people report it or 20 people report it, it's considered truthful. I'm trying to understand what was the situation of society in the time of Imam Ali that 100,000 plus people saw Ghadir, they heard it, and yet they asked him this question, on what authority? What was going on in that society? Can you explain? I mean, was there a mass psychosis? Everybody forgot?
When social trends or social currents move in such, say, certain direction, then people may censor themselves of talking about certain things that they know, because it's probably dangerous. It's probably not pleasant for people to hear it. And we have many narrations that companions of the Prophet censored themselves in this regard, except those who were very outspoken, like Abdullah ibn Mas'ud and Ibn Abbas, who, because of his position, no one could touch him. Otherwise, people who came in Al-Ghadir and heard this person in other cities. In Medina, of course, we know that situation was very different. And therefore, we have to put ourselves in the context of the time to see what happened. Of course, this is the Shia view. The Sunnis have a different view on this. But our view is that even Imam Ali went according to the current, because he didn't want to create conflict. Why we didn't have conflict at the time of Abu Bakr, at the time of Umar, at the time of Uthman, the first three caliphs? Well, at the time of Uthman we had with other it was not because of successorship, it was because of other matters. But on the matter of successorship, why we didn't have any problem there? Because Imam Ali decided not to somehow make this conflict a matter in the society. Somehow made it quite, calmed it down in a sense. But when he came to power, because people paid allegiance to him, then others didn't want that, and that's why the battles started.
Thank you so much. Sorry, I got most of it, but my question is, between the world of politics and the world of Islam, keeping in mind that over the years the West has gotten rid of the religion and gone into politics only, in the world of Muslims today, we still have a lot of monarchy, hierarchy, where the control is in the hands of Muslims. I'm sure you'll agree with me to say that there is hardly, maybe one or two actual rulers or status of government who are just with their people. And there will always be different views. We had it in the time of Khomeini and Ali Shariati and stuff. So the views are good for the Muslim Ummah so that they think a bit more. But when does it become, see, the line is gray. So if somebody says that there's something particularly wrong with what we are doing in nowadays, and he comes out with either an ideology or a fatwa to say, I have something better, but I'm still within Islam. You see what I mean? So that's the problem. So where do you draw the line? When you said that there are basics of religion that you, bayinat means obvious signs that you go against, even that could be a gray area. Can we decide that in terms of Usuluddin and Furu'uddin, can we categorize that? If somebody doesn't follow Usuluddin, then definitely he's out of the religion, or not?
Well, these bayyanat have actually lost the strength at our time, isn't it? So when Allah says, after we gave them bayyanat, it doesn't mean that these bayyanat would remain forever. At the time they were bayyanat, okay, they did ikhtilaf, and then everything was confused, and people went with that confusion. So we don't say that, for example, those who do not accept the Walaya of Imam Ali are now rejecting those bayyanat, because those bayyanat are not here anymore. It was at the time of the Prophet, okay? However, there are certain areas or certain tenets in faith which are, if we take them away, the faith is not there and is the same faith anymore. Like, for example, Tawheed. If someone rejects the Tawheed in Islam, okay? Or like, for example, that Prophet Muhammad is the last messenger, okay, which is very clearly mentioned in the Quran and in many narrations, and it's a common belief of all Muslims. Or like, for example, Salat, or Hajj, or Sawm. These are the main tenets necessary to make Islam Islam. Now, if someone rejects them, I don't say if someone doesn't practice them, because not practicing is different from rejecting. I may not reject Salat, but I may be lazy or think that I don't want to bother, or things like that. That's a different matter. So if someone rejects one of these tenets, however, if someone argues whether something is a tenet or not, then that would, of course, wouldn't take them out of faith. That's very clear, yeah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
You mentioned about beings which are higher than angels. Now we've heard about angels, we've heard about jinn, and obviously humans, animals, etc. And obviously there are other beings that Allah has never talked about to us, or whatever we might say, but never heard about anybody higher than angels.
Well, Allah talks about ruh, and ruh is not an individual. Apparently, ruh are a group of angels, or angelic beings, not angels, higher than angels. يَوْمَ يَقُومُ الرُّوحُ وَالْمَلَائِكَةُ صَفًّا. When the ruh make lines, so there are many ruh, and angels, they stand in respect before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالرُّوحُ. Now, some people say ruh here is Jibreel, but most of the commentators say no, this ruh خَلْقٌ أَعْظَمُ مِنْ جِبْرَائِيل. This is something which is bigger than Jibreel. And they say that they in the same way that the angels manage this world behind the scene, they manage the world of angels behind the scene. So they are closer to Allah, they are bigger, higher. So we are now dealing with a type of creature which is closer to Allah in that sense, in sense of knowledge, power, and everything. And they manage the world of angels. And the angels, probably without knowing that, they are being managed by that sort of creature which is called ruh.
So in this interpretation, Ruh al-Qudus and Ruh al-Amin would not be Jibreel, would be...
No, they are Jibreel, because as I said, the angels could be called ruh, human beings could be called ruh, like Jesus, for example. إنما المسيح عيسى ابن مريم رسول الله وكلمته ألقاها إلى مريم وروح منه. Isa was a ruh from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's a generic term could be attributed to many different creatures, depending on how much of that wisdom and knowledge of Allah they partake. They could be called ruh as well.
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. So what about the earth, the nature? Has that got any ruh? Because it has life when rain comes. So,
Yeah.
is it only for the intellect, this ruh? Or what about the nature that we have, the air we breathe?
Yeah, we can say that it has a type of ruh as well. they say they have soul. The plants have soul, the animals have soul, it's vegetative soul, it's animalistic soul, and then human soul, and then angelic soul. But for them, it's not called ruh, it's mainly called soul. For plants, for nature, it's mainly called soul rather than ruh. But anything which has life, we can say they have ruh. I mean, these are used interchangeably sometimes, very loosely.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Shaykh, and Allah knows what's in human being mind, knows that these conflicts are going to happen, yet it does happen. And we attribute that towards hikmat Allah. At the same time, we in our life, we do experience things, we do act, and it's almost like a test. Is it because the beauty of our religion, Islam being, is that you'd always have to look further, educate further, so that you know more, so you can be tested more? And is this the case with us until the day of judgment?
Yes, of course. We are here to be tested, isn't it? We are here to be tested. We pass the test, we move, we are elevated in our position with regards to faith, with regards to knowledge. We fail the test, we stay until the next test comes. So this is how the world is created. And if we want it to be run in any different way, for example, by compulsion, it would be a different world that Allah has not created yet.
So is ibtila same as hikmah? Hikmat Allah and ibtila for us as a human being on this planet?
No, hikmatullah is that everything with regards to human life, human activity, should be based on free will and choice. This is the hikmatullah. However, tests come as sort of part of this hikmah. That tests come to somehow put this in practice. Let's put this in practice to see how we behave in the face of different situations. It's hikmatullah as well, but the main hikmah is that things should happen in this world based on free choice of human beings.
Assalamu alaikum. I just want to talk about something we mentioned last week, and that you mentioned in passing, if I may. At one point you mentioned something about Imam Khomeini saying something about faith of all religions. Very briefly, that the way I understood it was that, and maybe I'm wrong, and I need to clarify that for myself and for all of us here. And the way I understood it, that is that if people have faith who are non-Muslims or followers of other prophets and their leaders, and they sincerely believed in it, then Allah will judge them according to the fact that that is the case. Can you just elaborate on that, please? Or if I misunderstood, whatever.
No, we have this idea of mustaz'afin. Mustaz'afin are those who, well, there are many different classes come under the title of mustaz'afin. One is that people who cannot find a way to guidance other than what they know. And just imagine that Christianity is correct and Islam is incorrect. I mean, for the sake of argument. What would happen to us? No, really, tell me, what would happen to us? I mean, you want to judge other people, isn't it? Saying that they are misguided, Allah should treat them this way. Suppose because we are certain that what we believe in is correct. That's what I say. We are certain that what we believe in is correct. But imagine it is not. What would Allah do to us? Is it fair that He should punish us because of our certitude? Imam Khomeini says certitude is something that Allah cannot punish people over it. So if someone is certain about their faith, it doesn't mean that all faiths are equal or give equal guidance. Or it's the matter of responsibility. Okay, so if someone is certain about their own faith, and their faith is wrong, should Allah punish them because of that certitude? It cannot. It cannot be. Rationally, it cannot be. This is the argument of Imam Khomeini. So he's not talking about correctness or incorrectness, not talking about which faith is correct, which faith is not correct. It's talking about how Allah should deal or treat the people when they have certainty about what they believe in. And you may say this applies to mushrikun as well. It's not only people of religion. If they are certain about this, these are the people we call mustaz'afun, the people who have no way to come out of that certitude. That's what we call mustaz'afun.
Just on that definition, Sheikh, if I can expand further. There was a debate when the ISIS started to say whether we should categorize them as Muslims or not. So if we keep it in mind that these are people... So if, for example, I'm taking an example of somebody who is...
just to mention this, Imam Ali regarded Khawarij as Muslim. And these people were like Khawarij.
So we would be judgmental in saying they are not Muslims.
You know, you cannot say they are not Muslims. You can say they are misguided or things like that. But if Imam Ali regarded Khawarij as Muslims, but misguided and fought them and killed them, then we can say we can treat in the same way. I mean, we can behave in the same way. We do not say they are not Muslims. They pray, they fast, they do all these things. But of course, because they are wrong, because they are creating fitna, we should stop them. That's what Imam Ali did with Khawarij.
It doesn't sound that simple from where I am, because then you are condoning somebody who spills the blood of an innocent Muslim. You see, now to me that's quite clear.
You mean a Muslim cannot shed blood?
Of a Muslim.
You are creating new tenets for Islam.
Yes, maybe so. But that's so. Would you not say that somebody who is ready to take a life is out of the Islamic religion or not?
I don't know. Let's leave this to theologians. I mean, you know, theologians have fought over these issues for centuries. Let them fight. Continue fighting.
Thank you very much, Sheikh. I think we'll end there. Salawat.
Thank you.
Inshallah, we resume next week.